5 recruits closed in, boots crunching against the gravel, their eyes sharp with mischief and the thrill of testing limits. They had already heard whispers about her, the new commander, quiet, unassuming, always watching, but they hadn't seen her in action. In their minds, she was just another officer, young, inexperienced, and soon to be an easy target. Her eyes lifted slowly, scanning each approaching figure, calm, measured. The air around her shifted, subtle but undeniable, like a storm preparing to break. The recruits thought they had 30 seconds to intimidate, to show who was really in charge. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The first recruit stepped forward, chest puffed, a grin that spelled overconfidence. The second mirrored him, the third and fourth closing angles, while the fifth lingered back, watching for an opening. They moved like a pack, teeth bared, unaware of the force they had provoked. She didn't flinch, not a twitch, not a step. Her hands hung by her sides, relaxed, almost casual, but the air vibrated with latent power. She had earned every scar on her arms, every hour of sleepless training, every sacrifice that had shaped her into someone they hadn't expected to meet in such a moment. And then it happened. One slight shift, a subtle stance adjustment, and in that instant the world revealed itself to them. The recruits froze, their movements halting mid-step as recognition struck. She was no ordinary officer. She held the rank of new commander, a rank carried with authority earned in fire, sweat, and trials far beyond their imagining. A whisper spread among them, barely audible over the wind. Their bravado faltered, replaced by awe, for a second time seemed to stretch. They saw her not as someone to push, but as someone who could dismantle their arrogance without raising her voice. She stepped forward, each movement precise, measured, deliberate. The first recruit's grin faltered, replaced by uncertainty. The second hesitated, the third swallowed, the fourth staggered slightly back. Even the fifth, who had lingered, realized too late that respect wasn't optional here. It was demanded by presence alone. Her voice finally cut through the tension, calm, unwavering. You have 30 seconds. Use them wisely, or you'll regret the wasted time. It wasn't a threat, it was a truth. The recruits glanced at one another, confusion and fear mixing with respect. The leader among them opened his mouth, but no words came. The realization had sunk in. They had underestimated someone they thought was young, inexperienced, and fragile. They were wrong. A subtle shift of the commander's shoulders, the way her eyes swept over the formation, reminded them of what they had forgotten. Power wasn't in strength alone. It was in knowledge, in experience, in the calm that comes when you've faced impossible odds and survived. The tension rippled through the gravel beneath their boots. A murmur rose, soft, almost involuntary, as the recruits acknowledged the truth they could no longer deny. They were not facing a rookie. They were facing a leader, someone who commanded respect, not by shouting, but by the certainty in her presence. The commander's gaze softened slightly, just enough to reveal empathy beneath her authority. She saw their hesitation, their fear, and their potential, and instead of striking, she offered guidance. "You learn faster when you realize who holds the rank," she said quietly. "Respect earns respect. Mistakes teach lessons." One recruit nodded, finally understanding. Another swallowed hard. The others mirrored him, each processing the lesson. No humiliation, no anger, only clarity, sharp and unshakable. As they stepped back, the gravel crunching softly beneath hesitant boots, the commander turned, walking away with measured steps, her presence lingering like a shadow cast in sunlight. The recruits remained frozen for a heartbeat longer, then slowly exhaled. They had come to intimidate, but left with something far more powerful: reverence and awareness of their own place in the hierarchy of courage and discipline. Because true authority doesn't roar, it doesn't demand blind obedience. It shows itself in moments where others underestimate you, and you teach them, not with cruelty, but with unwavering strength. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And as the commander disappeared down the path, dust sparkling in the sunlight, the recruits realized the lesson would stay with them far longer than any punishment could. They would remember the day they misjudged the new commander, the day they learned that true leadership is both fierce and compassionate, silent yet impossible to ignore. Thank you for listening. If this story inspired you, like, comment, and subscribe to Whispered Words for more mission stories that blend courage, strategy, and humanity. Your next unforgettable story is waiting. Click to watch.